podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Network's 200 stations, coast to coast, Sunday, September 13th, 2020. This is episode 1728. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from TWiT's LastPass studios. Securing every access point in your company doesn't have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more. This episode of the Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Melissa. Like expired milk, 30% of your customer data goes bad every year. That's money down the drain. Visit Melissa's developer portal for free access to data quality, APIs, demos, and code samples. Freshen up your sour data today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Whoa, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Well, yes, it's time once again to talk tech, computers, and, the internet, and, the obvious stuff, but also smartphones. That's part of it. Smartwatches, that's also part of it. Home theater. We've got our car guy, Sam Abuelsamid, coming up in just a few minutes. So there's car tech here, too. We'll talk digital photography with Chris Marquardt later on this show. So there's a lot of different angles on this. If it's got tech in it, we will talk about it. Anything with a chip in it is, I guess, what I say, but that maybe isn't. Well, all right, I'll go for that. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number if you want to talk about it. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach me, but you got to use Skype out or something like that. 8888 Ask Leo. Smartphones, smartwatches. I think we're going to see some new Apple Watches on Tuesday. Apple is having an event. I even got invited to the event, which doesn't mean much because it's just streamed. Anybody can go on the internet. But anyway, thank you, Apple. Thank you. I should be grateful. Thank you. You're invited to watch our public stream. Oh, thank you. That's nice. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Last one wasn't live. It was just a recording, which they made. They're probably making it right now. Hey, Tim Apple. And then they'll put it out at 10 a.m. We don't know what they're going to announce, but the invitation said, time flies. So the Kremlin watchers in the Apple community are saying, time flies, Time, Apple Watch. We do, the rumors were strong that there'll be an Apple Watch 6, new generation. What would be new in the Apple Watch? Honestly, is there a whole lot more you can do? There are some upgrades that are coming with the new software, but most of us who wear previous versions of Apple Watch will get that. Things like the hand washing routine. So it listens for the sounds of soap and the motions of hand washing and then goes, oh, you seem to be washing your hands, and starts timing you. And then after 20 seconds, it beeps. That's handy, I guess. Apparently they were working on that before COVID. Like they just thought, hey, we should help everybody wash their hands better. Okay. Be kind of good if it could watch to see if you're in the men's room and then say wash your hands, like please. I'm not judging. No, I'm not judging. There'll probably be new health features. There's going to be there's a sleep feature, but maybe there'll be new hardware to go with it. I don't really know what you can do in hardware with the Apple Watch, but we'll find out. Apple, at this point, with all these guys, we're kind of at peak phone, by which I mean it's hard to improve. All the improvements are kind of minor, incremental, just a little bit. We make it better, a little bit better. So I don't, and that's a problem because when you pay $250 or more for a wristwatch and it's out of date in a year, we're not used to that, are we? But Apple's trying to get used to it. Oh man, a A new Apple Watch? Okay. New iPhone? Yeah, not this month, probably. That's what the Kremlinologists, the wags, the watchers, the people who care, the crazy ones, they say, next month for iPhone 12. This month, Tuesday, Apple Watch and maybe a new iPad Air with a Type-C connector instead of Lightning. I think Apple's slowly moving everything in that direction. Phone it won't do right away, but it's slowly moving that direction. So, it's not super exciting. My guess, if you asked me, if you put me on the spot, would be that's it. But there, and I should mention, for the rest of us who are not going to buy expensive new hardware, there will be upgrades. There'll be watchOS 7, which will add the rub-a-dub soap thing. There'll be the new iOS 14, which actually had some nice privacy protection. So much so that the advertising industry, Facebook and Instagram particularly, were really upset. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. That means Apple's doing something right. Oh, you can't do that. In particular, what Apple was going to do is alert you when you install an application that application asks for permission to read your IDFA, your Apple ID for advertising, a unique identifier. It's just for you. Now, Apple's always had nice features. For instance, you can reset that so that you can say, no, I'm not me anymore, I'm somebody else. Start over. Advertisers want this, though, because they really want to know where you are, what you're doing, what you look at, what you search for. They want to match up all this data because then they can show you ads that reflect your interests. I'm not sure that's so bad, honestly. Wouldn't you rather have an ad for something you'd be interested in than for a while on Facebook, something went wildly wrong, and I was getting ads for barbed wire a lot. Like, what? They must have thought I was a rancher. Somehow they got the signal that I had, 10,000 acres and a bunch of cattle. Big hat, no cattle for me. So I didn't really need barbed wire, and so that was really not a good recommendation. But if it could work, and that's part of the problem with that, recommendation engines in general. If you notice that when Netflix tells you what you should watch next, it's not. I don't want to watch that. When Amazon says, "Hey, people who bought this should buy that," and you look at it and you said, "I did buy that." What are you talking about? That's how you know. Amazon does it all the time. Does it do to you? Recommend stuff you already bought? No, I already have that. Don't need more walnuts. Thank you. Nice try though. So these engines don't work that well. Maybe that's what's most annoying about them. If they worked well, if you didn't see car ads when you weren't in the market for a car, that would be probably not so bad. I already have a auto insurance company. Thank you. I don't need to see all those Geico and Progressive. And I mean, they're fun ads. I enjoy them. But I'm not in the market. And so from the advertiser's point of view, those are wasted on me, right? That's money gone down the tubes. Now, admittedly, when you buy broadcast television, you're advertising. Everybody watches that show. You don't have any control of that. But see, advertisers are getting spoiled now by things like Facebook and Instagram and Google search, where these guys, these digital advertisement platforms, know a lot about you. And so they know if you already have auto insurance. So they don't, the advertiser buying an ad doesn't buy an ad for people who aren't buying his product. Advertisers love that. And from the point of view of digital advertising companies like Facebook and Google, that's great. That takes dollars away from the football games and puts it into their pocket. So they're all for it. Users seem to think it's a little creepy. It does not bother me, honestly. But Apple decided, look, we should let people know that they have a tracking ID, the IDFA, and we should even go so far as to say, hey, this application that you just installed wants that. Do you want to allow it? Heresy. Facebook and Instagram up in arms. They said Apple's too powerful. Advertisers, they're going to ruin our business. So Apple did an interesting thing this week. They said, all right, never mind. We'll do it later, next year. Well, now you know. I mean, if Apple really cared about users giving you, honestly, I would probably leave it on and this is the problem. I think people kind of don't even, I don't want anybody to know anything about me. But honestly, for instance, this show, I don't know anything about you. You can listen to a radio show without any, giving up any information. That's the beauty of it. Broadcast through the air. Magical. But we do okay because you know why? Because the assumption is if you're listening to me, you must be a little bit of a geek. Yeah, I see you. You must be a little bit interested in this stuff. So we're going to give you ads for people who are interested in this stuff. That works really well, right? You're not going to hear auto insurance ads on here because, well, I mean, you might be interested. Many of you are. Next time you buy, you probably would want to, know flow. But really, you're much more interested probably in backup and remote access and printers and things like that. I don't think that's a bad thing. Anyway, Apple's pulling back. But there will be other features, nice features in iOS 14 to protect your privacy. In fact, here's the great thing. Apple has so influenced the industry that Google now has to do it on Android, which I'm sure makes them nuts. Gosh darn it. We can't spy on people. We want to know that stuff. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's talk tech. Anything on your mind, I'd love to talk with you about it. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. And there is a website. I want to mention that because if you're listening and you hear something and you go, oh, I got to write that down. You don't have to write that down because we put it all on the website where it is freely available. There's no sign up. No money will exchange, nor personal information. TechGuyLabs.com is the website. She is, ladies and gentlemen, continues to be unbreakable. Kimmy Schaffer. Hello, Kim.
Hello.
Phone angel.
So angelic.
So angelic. You're so angelic.
Not so much.
So we're watching the air quality in the Bay Area because the football game, the Rams game and the Niners games both could be
That's sports ball.
postponed because of air quality. But I'm looking at the cutoff and it's 200.
200?
Yeah, so I think we'll be all right. Those poor guys. Gonna play. I feel bad for them. So first we learn a head injuries could cause lifetime disability.
Yeah.
Then we learned that COVID-19, could spread throughout the league.
It could spread throughout.
But they're huffing and puffing on each other.
I guess.
And now we're learning that the air is so bad it's like smoking a pack of ciggies during the game.
I feel like I've smoked a lot in the last 24 hours.
I don't know. Let's not think about this.
Oh, but actually our first question has to do with air filters.
Oh, good. Rightly so.
Let's go to Craig in Santa Clarita.
Let's do it. Thank you, Kim Schaffer. Hello, Craig. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, has the air in Santa Clarita right now.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
The first set of hills I can see, and then nothing else. And there should be like 4 or 5 of those all the way to the San Gabriel.
Right.
It's
right.
bad.
It was a whiteout this morning. I couldn't see the neighbor's house.
Oh man, it was like that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday was that bad.
But what you don't know is that just harmless water vapor? Is it fog, or is it perhaps fog plus smoke? You don't know.
I mean, I've been tracking my purple also, and it goes from 200 to 3.
That doesn't sound good. So you got one of those purple air sensors? Because if you go to purpleair.com, they have a map, and it's all local sensors, which I like because Apple's giving me the weather for a town 30 miles west of us, or east of us. So it's not.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. It's Sebastopol. How far away is Sebastopol?
Maybe 15 miles.
Okay, but it's in a different valley. Right?
Yes, it is.
Different valley. It's so I want to know what it is locally. So you bought one of those purples, huh?
No, myself, I don't have a
you just look at the map.
I do. I look at it. Because,
I do too.
Because you turned me on to it.
Yeah.
It's a huge help.
Some say that I think the purple.
Near the fires.
Go ahead.
They're like way off the chart. They're above 500.
Holy camole.
Yeah.
That's not good. Theoretically, anything over 100 is abnormal. I mean, normal is like 10. What we're measuring is the particulate matter in the air, and most of the measurements use what's called PM 2.5, which is 2.5 micron particles or larger. And those are, that's smoke, basically, or debris. Yeah, and so, yeah, don't go outside. Although, you're going to have air inside, too. Close all the windows and doors, seal it. I don't know. I guess it's better inside.
It is a bit.
A bit.
I had a particular question about the replacement filters for our air filters. I have a couple Eureka air purifiers that I bought in, I think last year when we had terrible fires here.
Everybody in California owns these now.
Yeah. But I am not able to get them.
Oh, that's why.
Amazon and eBay are kicking back. They're saying there's something wrong with my address. It can't be delivered to a California address. And I've had other people, friends of mine, a friend of mine at ILM and then a friend of mine here in Burbank, they are trying to buy the same things on Amazon as I am. And they're saying the item cannot be shipped to your location.
Holy moly.
Location. So I'm trying to figure out why. Is there a regulation that, I can buy the actual purifier, which has a filter in it. That's fine.
But you can't buy the add-on. I have no idea. That's bizarre.
I tried to go around Amazon and go to eBay, and I just got messages from sellers. And, of course, it was $20 more per filter, but I need them. And then I got messages this morning saying there's a problem with your address. We can't ship.
Dobby,
some regulation I don't know about.
Our house elf in the chat room, Dobby, says, try factorydirectfilters.com.
Okay.
And, it could be the Prop 65 warning, but all you have to do on that is put a warning on it.
Right.
That's a really interesting question, really probably more for handle on the law than for the tech guy. California has increasingly becoming an outlier in terms of regulations. Our emissions regulations are stronger than the rest of the country. Our privacy regulations, thanks to the new California Privacy Act, stronger than the rest of the country. And so it may well be there's something about those filters that, maybe they have asbestos in them. I don't know.
Yikes. I listened to an article from KQED, actually, that it was from 2017. It's the only thing I can find that says that there's an ozone regulation.
Yeah, you don't want to put ozone on the air. So that is an issue with some. In fact, I've heard for a great many air filters is in the process of cleaning the air, they add ozone, which is also a dangerous, volatile organic compound in the air. So in October 2010, our chat room has done some research. The state of California banned the sale of some ozone-generating air purifiers, citing research they can emit relatively substantial amounts of the lung irritant.
I followed that one up, too, and Amazon has a list of CARB, which is California Air Resource Board approved filters, air purifiers.
Yeah.
And this unit is on that.
It's CARB approved.
Yeah. So why can't I get the filters?
Well,
maybe they're just not.
Amazon also, it could well be Amazon's broken.
Right. And I called them, and the customer support said, we'll check into seeing why this is a problem. But what's weird is the eBay sellers are now saying the same thing to me. It's very is it a postal thing, or how is an eBay seller with 20 of these in their garage getting an alert that they can't send it to me?
This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. Some California readers have been reporting they've been trying to order ARB-certified models from Amazon, but they're still receiving the error message. ARB has released the following statement. Amazon, unfortunately, has had problems shipping some CARB-approved air purifiers. So until Amazon addresses this error, so it's an error. Amazon has not replied. Now, I have to warn you, this article is from 3 years ago.
And that's as is the one that I'm looking at, 2017 here.
So it sounds like
I got friends out of state. I'll just do that.
Yeah, or try just out of curiosity, and let me know if it works. Try this this factory direct filters to see.
They don't have Eureka.
Oh, they don't have Eureka. Son of a gun.
Yeah, it looks like home furnace filters and things like that.
Oh, you're right. It is, isn't it? Yeah. So I use a Molecule, which they will ship me their filters. And one of the things I like about the Molecule's gotten a lot of heat. There was a couple of negative reviews, one in Wirecutter and one in Consumer Reports, because it isn't a particulate filter. It doesn't do a very good job with like a HEPA filter would with particulates. But in the research that is on the site, one of the things they show is it's very low in creating ozone, almost zero ozone creation. And it is very good with VOCs like formaldehyde and other stuff. So I keep a Molecule running in our bedroom at home. But I've also purchased much less expensive devices. Like Wirecutter recommends the Coway, Coway. I haven't tried buying Coway filters yet, though, so I don't know.
I saw you had a Coway, and I was going to ask, hey, can you get those?
Let me just see if I can get a filter. Let me try to order a filter here. Let me see which one.
California, we're on fire, and we can't even.
Isn't that ironic? Yeah, this is where you see the issue of Amazon becoming so dominant.
Right.
If Amazon makes a mistake, which apparently they've made. Let me see which model I have here. Hold on a sec, because I got to order the right filter. This is the 1512 double H. 1512 double H. There it is. Replacement filter. $37. Get it as soon as Wednesday. Let's do a one-time purchase. Buy now.
Oh, you can get it.
Well, let's see.
Mine says in red on the page, the listing page.
Yeah.
That I can't get it.
Really?
Yeah. And even the off-brand, like Chinese knockoff ones for my model, have the warning.
Which makes me think that this is something mistaken.
Real or mistaken?
Mistaken. Okay. No, mistaken. Hey,
mine is the Eureka NEAF1.
I got to run because I got to do Sam.
Okay.
But I'll mention if I can get this, if I can order this, I'll mention it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good question. You've raised an interesting topic. I'm sure this is not the last of it. Melissa is the data cleanup expert. If you have customer lists, if you're entering customer data, maybe your customer service rep, you know a few mistyped strokes and you could lose a customer completely, not know where they live, what their email is, what their phone number is. I keep calling the number, I'm getting somebody else. You need Melissa. Did you know that 30% of customer data goes bad every year? People move. Phone numbers change. Email addresses change. Melissa makes sure your data is accurate and current. You want to reach the right customers. You don't want to overreach. I remember I used to get a restoration hardware catalog 5 times, same catalog. What a waste. Made me cancel them. That's not what you want either. You want to send exactly one to the exactly right address. That's Melissa. You can even add consumer demographic information to your records, property and mortgage data, marital status, social media handles. Melissa fills in the gap by adding emails and phone numbers. You can use the Melissa API in your custom application for your customer service reps. You can run it on-prem. You can run it as a web service, as SaaS. You can even use their secure FTP login to upload a data list and download the clean list. It's so flexible. Melissa is always undergoing independent security audits because they're committed to your data security, privacy, and of course they have to be compliant. They have the utmost dedication to keeping your data safe and secure. They implement the strongest controls and safeguards, so your data is always safe. Your data is always protected. Their matching and dedupe tools help you uncover, merge, and purge hard-to-find duplicate records, so you always have an accurate 360-degree of your customers and just your customers. Over 10,000 businesses trust the address experts. You should too. And by the way, Melissa, well done. They're supporting communities and qualifying essential workers during COVID-19. See if your organization qualifies. You can get 6 months of free Melissa service. Just apply online at the website, melissa.com/twit. Don't put up with sour customer data. Try Melissa's APIs in the developer portal. It's easy to log on, sign up, and start playing in the API sandbox 24/7. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free. melissa.com/twit. That's melissa.com/twit. He's driving in his beautiful Lucid automobile, powered by God. It's Sam Abuelsamid. He's a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, podcaster. He does a great wheel bearings podcast for auto enthusiasts at wheelbearings.media. Joins us every week to talk about car tech. I say that because everybody responded to this Lucid announcement as if the heavens had opened up and the magical something had arrived. What do you think, Sam?
I'm very impressed by what I've seen so far.
Okay.
I actually first spoke with Peter Rawlinson, who's the CEO and CTO of Lucid.
He was a
Derek
Tesla guy,
Jenkins.
wasn't he, for a long time?
Yeah, he was actually the chief engineer on the Model S when they developed the Model S at Tesla. And then he left Tesla after they launched the Model S and went over to the company at the time was known as Ativa. But they ultimately rebranded as Lucid Air or Lucid Motors. And Ativa is actually their technology division. So Ativa, for example, makes the battery packs that are used in the Formula E race cars. And Lucid, has taken a lot of what they've learned from doing those battery packs, these high-performance battery packs, and incorporated it into the design of the battery packs in the Air. And I first spoke with Peter and Derek Jenkins, who's their head designer, at the LA Auto Show back in November of 2016, and they gave me a virtual walkthrough. We sat down for about an hour and talked about what they were doing, and then they had the HTC Vive set up in this conference room.
That's the augmented or the virtual reality visors. So you
put the VR goggles on, and then Derek did a walk around, showed me around the design of the car, which hasn't really fundamentally changed since then. They had a period where we didn't hear too much from Lucid while they were trying to actually raise enough money to build a plant and actually get into production. But they continued development, and so this past Thursday they showed off the car to the world, in its final production form, and they've started taking pre-orders for it. It goes into production next spring, starting with what they call the Dream Edition, which means
that you have to dream to afford it, probably, right?
Pretty much, yeah. The Dream Edition is going to cost $169,000. And then over the course of the next year into 2022, they'll gradually roll out lower cost versions, with the base model coming sometime in 2022 for $80,000. But they
okay. So in other words, I'm not really in the market for this car. It's a little high price. I mean,
if you're looking for a luxury car, I think there's a couple of things that distinguish this from the Model S.
Yes.
One is, as good as, the Model S and the X and the 3 are in many respects, especially from a technology standpoint. The one complaint that people have often had with, especially the S and the X, which are more expensive, is that for the price point, they don't feel as premium. They don't feel like a luxury car, like a traditional luxury car.
Yeah, that was my complaint even about the Model X. I liked it. Yeah. But at $120,000, I expected something more like a Mercedes, man. Something cool.
Yeah, and that's really what you get in this thing. I sat in a prototype a couple of years ago. It really feels like a premium luxury car. It's a premium experience. So for the price point, you're getting what you would expect from other traditional manufacturers.
What about the technology? Is the technology advanced in some way?
Yeah, one of the things they did that Peter's talked a lot about is the focus on efficiency. Because one of the challenges, the big challenge with electric cars, of course, is batteries are big and bulky and heavy and expensive. And if you want to get long range, you've got to use a big battery, and that adds a lot of weight. And while people generally, most people don't think about efficiency too much in terms of EVs because there's no emissions. it's actually probably even more important on an EV just because of the size and weight of that battery. So they really focused on efficiency. And even though the top end Air, actually has a little bit bigger battery than the longest range Model S, it's 113 kilowatt hours versus 98. When you adjust for that, it's actually about for it can get up to they're estimating about 517 miles of range with the top end Lucid Air, and so that's about 14% more efficient than what Tesla has managed to achieve. And so if they can actually achieve that in real world driving, and this is obviously a very big caveat, there's a big difference between estimating what an EV will do and what it can often do in the real world. And sometimes you do better, sometimes not so much. And so if Lucid can actually achieve what they're claiming, then it's gonna make a big difference. They're also doing a lot of the things that Tesla did, like a modern electronic architecture that supports over-the-air software updates, and so they'll have capabilities in there for partially automated driving systems. It comes with a LiDAR sensor on the front. Lots of radar and camera sensors. So you'll be able to upgrade it over time with updated software that gives you progressively more capable partial automation. They're not making any claims to doing full self-driving with this version of the car. So eventually they want to get there, but that's not going to be possible with the hardware that's on there right now. So they're not making those kinds of claims, but it should get better over time. And another interesting thing that they talked about in the preview of the car that I did about a week and a half ago was the size of the motors. The two motors on this thing, on the high-end model, they each put out 670 horsepower, but they're less than half the size of the motors on the Tesla, on the Model S and the Model X. And, so that, makes everything more compact, easier to package, and, allows for more room inside the car and a bigger front trunk. So this thing has, was it about a 10 cubic foot front trunk, which is bigger than the rear trunk on some traditional cars, as well as more cargo space in the back as well. So this is going to be a very impressive car, assuming that they can build it correctly and execute on it.
Right. And that's always the issue. It was the issue with Tesla, is these aren't traditional car manufacturers.
Right.
And where are they going to make it?
They built a plant in Arizona.
Well, that's good.
And so they've been working on constructing that over about the past year or so, since they've raised about $1 billion in funding from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund.
That's ironic.
Somewhat controversial.
But but also it's funded by oil.
Yeah.
So I guess they're looking to the future. So that's not bad. We recorded a new episode of Wheel Bearings this morning that should be out in the next day or so. One of my co-hosts, Rebecca Lindland, she lived in Saudi Arabia for a couple of years. She was working for an organization, an institute over there, where one of the things they were looking at was the Saudi government really wants to move towards electrification and support electrification because they are running out of oil and they have high domestic demand for oil, and so every gallon they use there, they can't export. It's so cheap in the Middle East that when I was in Dubai, I said, "Any electric cars here?" They said, "Why? Gas is $1 a gallon." I'm not gonna. So, but they do have ample sun as well. Sam Abuelsamid, he is a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, and you got to listen to his podcast, wheelbearings.media. We'll see you next week, Sam. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Leo.
I'll start saving my pennies. I love the interior looked great. I thought the all screen was nice. But it's awfully expensive.
Yeah. What's interesting about that setup in the interior, you have there's a 35-inch screen, curved screen that sits across the top of the dash that appears to kind of float in the air above the dashboard. And then there's a secondary screen that actually comes down on the center console that when you're not using it, it can actually retract up into the dashboard. So when you need it, it comes down. And they still have they stuck with some physical controls on there for some of the main climate controls and radio volume, things like that. So it's quite an impressive design.
Yeah, I wish it weren't so expensive. I'm gonna be happy with my Mach-E. Tell me that, please, Sam.
I think you will be. I hope you will be. But I think you will be.
I know there's no guarantees.
I can't guarantee anything.
No, I know.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a pretty interior, I have to say. Although I worry with all screens, but I guess,
Well, you see, just below the center vents there, they do have some physical switches. So it's not all screens.
Yeah.
And that lower screen there, when you're not using it, it can actually flip up and then it slides forward into the dashboard. So it's out of the way and there's a storage
there it is.
compartment.
Yeah, I could see it slid up there. Yeah, that's kind of neat. That's kind of cool. What would you use that big screen for? Navigation and controls?
So that gets you a little more detail on some of the controls. So some of the audio controls, things like that. And it has support for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's the executive rear seating package.
Yeah, they said it's like it's first class on an airline.
Oh yeah, I sat in there with Peter Rawlinson a couple of years ago at the New York Auto Show. We laid the seat backs and chatted for about 15 minutes.
And then fell asleep, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, what that shows is that the market for this is part of the market for this is limousines and the like,
oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right, ride shares. Yeah, and
I
saw that Uber
China,
is saying by 2030 it wants all of its vehicles to be electric. So this is probably going to be a big market for companies like Lucid.
Yeah, and in China, there's a lot of the market, a lot of premium buyers prefer to be driven around.
Right.
And so, a lot of customers that are going to buy the car in China, where EVs are far more popular, will likely go for a package like this and be driven around. And one of the neat things is the way they've constructed the battery is you can opt for a maximum rear leg and seat room package. Because this thing has so much range, or is claimed to have so much range, they offer a package where it'll actually take out 4 of the modules in the middle of the battery pack that are below the just in front of the rear seats. So, and then it lowers the floor down, so you have even more room back there.
Nice.
And you still have
so when I get my chauffeur, maybe I'll get this.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have Michael driving you around.
When Michael's driving us around, which he does a lot now in our Bolt.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he's doing great. We still don't, we got to go to DMV and get a permit, but he's good. He's a good driver. He's an excellent driver. So that's good.
Good to hear.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome, Leo.
Thank you. I guess pretty soon I should be hearing from Ford. I mean, I'm thinking delivery maybe in November, or probably December.
Probably November or December, somewhere in that time frame. They should be starting production later this month, I think, or early October.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome. Talk to you next week.
You too.
Take care.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. The phone number. It's really interesting to see what's happening with electric vehicles. We drove my wife's car is a Chevy Bolt, and really like it. And then for a long time I had a Tesla Model X, which I loved. That was a lease, so after 3 years it went back. And as I've mentioned, I think a couple of times, I'll be I put a pre-order in on the new Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is Ford's all-electric quote Mustang. As a former Mustang owner, I realize it's not a muscle car, but it'll be fun to drive. Anyway, that'll be in the next couple of months. I like driving EVs. Now, we have a ton of solar panels on the roof, so in effect, we're generating our own electricity for the EV, so that makes me feel even better. Even better. 8888 Ask Leo. Ross is on the line from Long Beach, California, our next caller. Hi, Ross.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing fine, thank you. I'm not much of a tech person. In fact, the only reason I ever got my first computer back in 2000 was to run the QuickBooks invoicing system for my business. I'm pretty much retired now, but I'm working on a 10-year-old, I believe it is, a laptop that, well, with the Windows 10 in it, I'm about maxed out, and I believe that's one of the reasons why everything works, but it works very slowly.
Yeah, so
it's time for an upgrade, and I was looking for a recommendation somewhere in the $300 to $400 range, please.
I don't want to discourage you from buying a new laptop because 10 years old is a long time in computer life, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that the reason most computers get slow over time is their hard drives get less reliable. And while it may still work, if the operating system has to work extra hard to read data off the hard drive, it really slows things down. It's the #1 cause for slowdowns on computers. So it might simply be replacing the existing hard drive with a modern solid-state drive, an SSD, would give you all the speed back. You'd be happy. In the process, you might want to reinstall Windows just to, clean everything up, because that's the other thing that could slow things down over time, bit rot. But generally speaking, it's the hard drive. So it's up to you. The nice thing is an SSD costs about $100, plus the install if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Is it a laptop or desktop?
It's a laptop, Leo, and I actually, the laptop I have, I really like the thing, but
who makes it?
God.
Oh, it's all right. If you don't know, it's all right.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it's a Dell, though, if I remember correctly.
So a modern high-end Dell would set you back a little more than your budget. In fact, the other reason I say, try fixing the hard drive is your budget's low. And spend $400 or $500 on a laptop. You're going to get a lot of compromises in the components. The reliability is not going to be great. The screen's not going to be great. The keyboard's not going to be great. One of the pet peeves I have with laptops, inexpensive laptops usually have terrible trackpads. These are all things that you're going to live with for a long time. So I understand money's tight, especially right now, but I think we have often unreasonable expectations for how much a decent machine should cost. And that's because there are inexpensive machines. The HP Stream, for instance, which is a nice machine, is in your budget, but it's your big bezels, the screens aren't as nice. It probably will be all right. I think that's probably what I would look at. It includes a year of Office and a terabyte of online storage, which is nice. The HP Stream starts at $200. I would beef it up as much as you can. It's plastic. It's really designed for students, or because it's colorful, right? But I think the price is right. That's about one of the few that I would recommend at that price. The other thing to look at, unless you really know you need Windows, because you run a program like QuickBooks, for instance, although nowadays you could even run QuickBooks online on any browser. If you don't know that you need Windows, I would look at a Chromebook as well. They are inexpensive Chromebooks. The advantage Chromebooks have, they're not Windows. All they do is run the Chrome browser, but they're much more secure. And I think also much more reliable. I don't know if you've been following the news with Microsoft lately, but they just keep seeming to have security issues and technical troubles and weird problems because the Windows code base, let's face it, is pretty old. And as a program like that gets older, it accumulates more cruft. Bit rot happens there too. So if you have to have Windows, I'd take a look at an HP Stream if that's in your price point, and it's not a bad computer for that price. If you can't get a Microsoft Surface for that, I wouldn't recommend a Dell for that or an Acer. I mean, they make inexpensive Acers, but those are really kind of low end. The HP Stream is probably the best bet in that price point. But you can get a Chromebook in that price point. In fact, HP makes the same HP Stream as a Chromebook. They don't think they call it the Stream, but it's the same computer. And they are very secure, too. And you might also even look at an iPad. iPads tend to be more expensive. But I like the idea of not using a general-purpose operating system. The default 10 years ago was buy Windows, because that's everything. It's a computer. Computer equals Windows. But that's changed in the last 10 years, and that's thanks to the iPad and the Chromebook. They're much more limited. You only can, run the apps that come with Chrome, for instance, as extensions, or Android, because you can run Android apps on that, or only run the apps that come with the iPad. But as a result, I think it's much more reliable, much more secure. You don't have the issues with updates and so forth. People just really seem to be suffering with Windows these days. So the first thing I'd look at anyway is replacing the hard drive. Anytime you get a computer that's older and slow, an SSD in there is going to make a big difference. And the secondary, if you say, well, I need a new computer anyway, this one's kind of beat up. 10 years is a long time. I would look at the HP Stream if you have to have Windows. Jim in Costa Mesa is next. Hi, Jim. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm just fine. I have 3 Chromebooks. One, the oldest, I'm going to retire.
How do you like those Chromebooks? I was just talking about that.
Yes, I like them. I mean, I still have Windows things, but for the laptops, I like to use these.
Yeah. Yeah, keep that old Windows machine around if you have to have Windows, but most of the time for banking and surfing and email, you'd probably want to use a Chromebook. It's safer.
Yes, I'm sure of that. In any case, the newest one is the one I'm having some troubles with. When I try to sign on to the Gmail icon, a little screen comes up and it says add Gmail to your Google account.
What? What?
Yes, that's what it says.
All right. When you log into that Chromebook, do you log in with your Google account?
I haven't, but
here's what I would try. This is one of the advantages, one of the things you can do with a Chromebook that makes it superior. It might be time to power wash that thing, which is basically reinstalling everything, wiping it all out. Now, if you have anything stored locally, get it off. But most of the time with a Chromebook, you don't store stuff locally. Everything's stored in the Google Cloud and so forth. A Chromebook is designed to be tied to your Google account, which includes your Gmail. So what I would do is power wash it. And then, and that's in the settings. You know, it's different for every Chromebook, but it's in this advanced portion of the settings. You power wash it, and then log in with your Google account, and you should never see that message again. You're in your Google account. Your Gmail is there. So I think that might be the easiest thing. We'll put a link in the show notes to another solution. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scooter X has found... Let me read this. Use Gmail to access your Google account. If you use Gmail, you already have a Google account, right? Right. With a Google account, you have access to free Google products. Sign into your Google account. No, I don't know why you posted that. If you had a Chromebook, everybody has a Chromebook signs into their Google account when they set up the Chromebook. That's the deal. You have to have a Google account. And, of course, since you have Gmail, you just use that Gmail login. That's your Google account. Maybe when you first set up the Chromebook, you created a new account? Is that possible?
Possible. But
you don't remember.
This box, I try to enter my Gmail address, and it's already used.
Yeah, you use it. So, so... When you set up a Chromebook, the first time it's going to ask you for your Google credentials, which is your Gmail account and your password. That's part of the confusion here, I understand, is that you might not realize that when you have a Gmail account, you have a Google account. That's Google. It's the same account for everything. So maybe when you said, oh, I don't have a Google account. I have a Gmail account. I don't have a Google. So you set it up with a new Google account, in which case you want to start over. So again, the power wash or log out. Actually, you don't even have to power wash, although it's always a good idea. I power wash my Chromebooks all the time. Or just log out and then log into your Chromebook using your Gmail credentials. You see what I'm saying? So my name at gmail.com and your password, and the Chromebook will run, and you will never have that message again because you're logged in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes some sense, yes.
Yeah. So I think it's possible when you set up the Chromebook, you created a new account. That's the only explanation I could think of. So you're logged into one Google account, but your Gmail's a different one.
Yeah, it's interesting. This box has my name pre-done and my current email address, not the Gmail.
Oh, that's what happened. So when you logged into your Chromebook, you didn't use your Gmail account. You created a new Google account with that other email address.
Well, the other email was my non-email Gmail email.
Yeah.
And when it says choose your Gmail, I put my Gmail address, and it says it's already taken.
Yeah. That's because you're setting up a new account. So log back out of the whole thing. Just log out. And then now log in, not with that other email address, but with your Gmail address and your Google password. That's what you should always use in a Chromebook.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that'll solve the whole problem. And then you'll get your Gmail. Now, to get the Gmail and the email on the other account, you need to go into the Gmail settings and say, hey, get the email from this other account. Gmail can do that. And then it'll all be in one unified inbox.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to have five email addresses.
No, of course not. So you do that in the Gmail settings. You set up that other account in the Gmail settings.
Okay.
All right.
I'll try that.
Good luck. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. Website, techguylabs.com. That's free. Easy to sign up. So we had a call earlier in the show from somebody who said, I can't order replacement filters for my Eureka air purifier on Amazon. It says, no, you're in California. You can't do that. I'm seeing this, by the way, more and more, definitely for air purification stuff. But because of the California Air Resources Board and the limitations they put on some air filtration products, they say some of them put ozone in the air. That's often a side effect of air filtration. If that's the case, that's adding toxics to the air, not removing them. So they're banned in California. Increasingly, we're seeing banned in California for a lot of things. California has stronger emissions controls, stronger privacy controls. We have this California Privacy Act that's really, I think, good, but it's very strong. And it means any company that wants to deal with Californians has to, for instance, give them the right to remove their data from the database. That's something most companies should have done all along because of the General Data Protection Regulation in the European Union, GDPR. But if they had kind of avoided it, you might remember some newspapers just block European visitors to say, sorry, thanks to GDPR, you can't read our newspaper. So they never modified their policies. They'd have a hard time in California now, too. And I think the Air Resources Board in California does block some air filters. Amazon, though, apparently overreached. That's the sense I'm getting. And blocked a lot of filters that weren't illegal in California. But I just wanted to mention that I had just, as an experiment, ordered replacement HEPA filters for the Koei filter I've been using, which is, I think, a nice HEPA filter, and with no problem from Amazon. Amazon didn't say, no, you can't have it. You're in California. So it seems like a bug. They'll sell, if they will sell the Eureka air filter, it's, purifier itself, but they won't sell you refill filters. They said there's a bug. That's something wrong. Something Amazon is doing wrong. This is, by the way, this is the problem. This is the complaint people have about Amazon and and I guess by extension Google and these other giant tech companies. Once they become kind of dominant, they have undue power. As soon as Amazon starts blocking these filters, then sellers on eBay and other places go, well, if Amazon's doing it, it must be right. And pretty soon you can't get them, even though there's no reason why. That demonstrates the power Amazon has in e-commerce. And I think that's bad. Apparently, according to Bloomberg, the U.S. Department of Justice is about to file a massive antitrust case against Google, with a lot of states' attorneys general joining in. It's just a rumor right now, but I suspect we'll hear about this next week or the week after. The White House is pushing this hard. In fact, we had seen a story earlier that said the Attorney General was pushing this even over the objections of the in-house attorneys at the Department of Justice who said, we need more time to build this case. If you do it now, we really won't have as strong a case. Give us a few more months. And the AG is saying, no, you got to do it now. So expect probably the largest antitrust action since Microsoft DOJ back in the 90s. The Department of Justice versus Google. Watch for that. I don't know yet what their issues are, but it might have to do with search. It might have to do with advertising. It might have to do with all of the above. Back to the phones we go. Line 3, Brant in upstate New York. Beautiful part of the country. Hi, Brant.
Hi.
Welcome. We used to go up to Cooperstown every summer. Spend the summers up there. I love it.
Oh, okay. I'm not very familiar with the area. I just moved to it. But the question I have for you, I have a computer that's about 2 years old, a desktop that I built about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. But anyhow, I'm having issues with the USB ports working. It's intermittent. Sometimes they'll just cut off, but a majority of the time it's when I first start up the computer and then I have to restart it again to get them to work. And I was just wondering if you had any idea what's going on.
Yeah. So the USB ports work, but they work intermittently. They're not always working. This is, by the way, the hardest problem to diagnose because it doesn't happen every time. If you can reproduce the problem, if you can say, when I do this, this, and this, then the USB port stops working, then we can figure it out because we can, figure out the chain of causation. But if it just happens from now and again, and it sounds like that's the case, right? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Right. Yes, but the majority of the time, it's when I first boot it up is when they're.
Oh, interesting. And then after a while, they work.
No, I'll have to restart the computer again
restart
to get them to work. Yep, restart it.
So, as always with a problem like this, there's two different areas. It could either be software or hardware. It could be a bad USB chip. Maybe a chip that has issues, but sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. That's the bad diagnosis because it's hard to fix that. It's on the motherboard. Although, is it a desktop or a laptop?
It's a desktop.
Yeah. With a desktop, it's cheap to go on to Amazon or Newegg and buy a USB card that goes in one of your slots. And if it's hardware, that would just fix it. If it's not hardware. If it's software, that might not fix it because it could be the USB drivers themselves. Do you have a lot of things plugged into the USB ports, or?
A lot. I don't know what you consider a lot.
Well, normally people have a keyboard and a mouse, and that's it. What else do you have plugged into USB besides?
I have a webcam, steering wheel, Logitech steering wheel, and that's it.
So what you might do, those things draw power. I would unplug them, reboot, and see if that problem comes up at all. Okay. If it doesn't, then it's something to do with the power draw. That's an easy thing to fix as well. You can get an external US powered, this is the key, USB hub, one that plugs into the wall. That will have its own power source. It'll easily drive the Logitech wheel and the webcam and a bunch of other stuff because it's drawing its own power. And it's not drawing it off the motherboard.
It does have its own plug.
Oh, okay.
It has a separate power.
So it's not bus powered. Okay.
Yeah.
Still, it may, I
tell you what, I'm going to give it a try with the PCI, using one of the PCI slots and putting some USB.
That's an easy thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, give that a try.
Those are cheap.
It works because I think I actually have a couple laying around.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know why I didn't think about it until you said. But
so put those in, see if that works. If you never have a problem there, then it probably was hardware. If it persists, it could be drivers and so forth. The problem is those are generic drivers. They're installed when you install Windows. They kind of come with the machine. I guess you could remove them and it would plug and play new ones in there. It seems unlikely that that's the problem.
Yeah, I already went through all of them to see if they needed updated or anything.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's... So it could be power because those are bus powered. Well, the Logitech is not. Camera is bus powered. So it could be power. There's just not enough juice on the motherboard. But try it with the PCI card. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hey, good luck.
Thank you for the tip.
My pleasure. It's what we do. It's like a user group. Do you ever probably nobody remembers user groups. They're still around. The heyday of the user group was in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s. Actually, even earlier, because it was in the 70s at the Homebrew Computer Club, one of the very first user groups that Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs introduced the Apple computer, first as a kit that they sold to the computer club members. But then in the 80s and 90s, there were big user groups, and there was the Boston Macintosh users group, and I used to go to the Berkeley Macintosh users group. There were big user groups. There'd be 50, 60, 100 nerds gathered together, usually in a university classroom, sometimes in a church, sometimes anywhere you might have a meeting room. And they would sit around. There might be a presentation at the beginning, sometimes from a company. Hi, my name's Peter Norton, and I'd like to tell you about my new product, the Norton Utilities. And then there'd be a question and answer period. And then people would stand up and say, I got a problem. And the group would try to help each other. That's kind of what this is. It's just we're on the radio now. We're not in the church lunchroom. We're on the radio, but it's the same idea. And that's good when we can help each other out. And it's not just me, it's you too. Call in when you hear something and you've got a good idea. You can always call 8888 Ask Leo. You can join the Team Tech Guy in the chat room. They're great. irc.twit.tv. They're kind of the gray beards in the back of the user group meeting, kind of folding their arms and snickering. And then there's of course the website, techguylabs.com. You go there and you'll find everything that we talk about, plus a chance to leave your own comments and suggestions and thoughts. It's good. We have to help each other out, because you know what? The computer industry doesn't do a very good job of that. Come on, Eileen. Come on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number from Monument, Colorado. Vip's on the line. Hello, Vip.
Hey, Leo. How you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
Doing well.
What can I do for you?
I live in a two-story house with an unfinished basement, and I'm about to finish it. And we kind of have issues with Wi-Fi anyway in the house, so I was wondering, should I run Ethernet lines from my main floor down into the basement so that I can feed my internet down there?
You bet. If you've got the walls open and it's an easy thing to do, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just paid somebody to retrofit my house with Ethernet lines. And that was a little bit harder because, of course, the walls aren't open. But they went up in the attic and down in the crawl space, and they were able to feed lines up into the wall and cut a hole in the wall and put the jacks there. And, man, it is the best thing to do. If you can do it, it's great. And I would use Cat 6 cable if you could for future proofing. There's even faster. There's Cat 6E, but I don't think you need that. I think Cat 6 is sufficient. That's what we put in. And I tell you what, man, that is a luxury. Now, when I'm online, on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, it's just, no problems. I put a jack next to the home theater system so the TVs stream. We do a lot of streaming now, and it's just beautiful. No more buffering. It makes a big difference. It's whenever possible. Ethernet, in other words, hardwired, is always preferable to Wi-Fi. And if you have a fast connection, we upgraded our internet to gigabit internet at the same time, and even with gigabit internet, the Wi-Fi is never more than 200 or 300 megabits, which is still plenty fast, but the wired is 900 plus megabits, so wired is always going to be faster.
Okay, so then interesting, because that brings up the next question that I would have, if it's okay.
Sure.
Is I will have to move my modem and router down to the main floor. Currently, they're upstairs because the two bedrooms that I use for my office, the Wi-Fi doesn't get upstairs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too heavy to get upstairs. Or
Yeah, I can't quite make it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Wi-Fi's gotten fatter and fatter. We're lifting a lot more data than we used to. So, and there's more interference from the neighbors, and of course, Wi-Fi really, technically, especially the higher 5 gigahertz, is line of sight. It'll bounce around and get around walls and stuff, but metal just stops it cold. Humans stop it cold. So yeah, Wi-Fi's always challenged a little bit, and we're using it so much. That's why I say if you can wire. So there's a couple of ways to handle that. Of course, what we ended up doing, since we were putting in Ethernet everywhere, is we put in Wi-Fi access points in the ceiling that were powered by Ethernet. It's called PoE. And so each one of those has a direct Ethernet line to the Wi-Fi access point. And if you use the right equipment, it's a unified network. But that's nice because the access points have full bandwidth coming to them. And that's worked really, really nicely. It gives us great Wi-Fi. The other way to do that, the upstairs, the walls aren't open. And you maybe don't want to run Ethernet up there. So there are two ways you can solve this problem. One is with the newer mesh systems, which are designed for challenging Wi-Fi environments. You'll have a base station where the old one still is, but you'll put additional units. Usually these are smaller, less expensive units in the rest of the house, and they communicate with one another so that it forms a mesh, like a net. And that way it's not one long haul from the Wi-Fi down to your office. You got little hops and jumps, and that usually is a good solution. We use Eero, which is a good, that's an Amazon company now. They're a sponsor of some of our shows. I've used Netgear's Ubiquity. Those are good too. There's a variety. Everybody makes mesh now. Even Asus, which traditionally makes the the base stations, but now they're doing mesh as well. The other way to go, if you don't want to wire it, is to use your existing power line. This is called power line networking. It's not going to be as fast as if you put an Ethernet line in, but at least it's hardwired. And it's a fairly inexpensive solution, less expensive than buying a mesh network. TP-Link makes little power line units. You plug into the wall, into your power, and then you plug it into the router with an Ethernet cable. Then wherever else you want to get access to that, you plug in another unit, a base unit, into the wall, and either have Wi-Fi coming out of that or have an Ethernet jack coming out of that. And as I mentioned, it's about half the speed of full band Ethernet, but in many cases it's just as solid, and that would be sufficient in many cases. So there's your two choices.
Have you heard of, I'm looking up online, I see this thing called MOCA.
MoCA, yeah. So that uses, it's a similar idea to power line, but instead of using your power grid in the house, that uses your cable infrastructure. So if you have a home where you have cable TV wired into each room, you can use MoCA. It's a little more expensive. You need a MoCA base station and a MoCA receiver, but it's doable. MoCA is going to be faster than power line. Should be. I've only used it a little bit. It should be roughly as fast as Ethernet. Mike B do you find that? Mike B in our chat room says he uses it. It's great. He's got TiVos. TiVo has MoCA built in. So TiVo can be a MoCA base station. How fast is your MoCA? Is it full speed? Is it like Ethernet, Mike B, or is it a little bit slower? I think MoCA is another good solution, but again, that depends on your cable outlets. Do you have cable in every room that you want it? Then you could do that.
Yeah, they happen to run double cables in every room when they built the house. Perfect.
Yeah, he says he's getting 400 megabits. He's on a gigabit fiber, so that's pretty good speed. Yeah. Fantastic. There's a third choice. Yeah, I forgot to mention. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris Marquardt coming up. It's time for our photo guy, Chris Marquardt. He's my sensei at sensei.photo. That's where he teaches how to get better pictures, how to develop an eye, how to get out there and take stuff. He joins us every week to help us get better pictures. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
It's good to see you. I am very well, considering the world's on fire.
Good
Other
to
than
hear.
that,
well, yeah okay.
I bet even in Germany you hear the news about California burning to the ground.
Well, we hear a lot of news from the U.S. That's one of them, yes.
One of many stories. Oh, I tell you. It's as the old Chinese curse goes, may you live in interesting times.
Yes. Good old Terry Pratchett.
So now we are going to take a look at transparency. How exciting.
We did a bunch of different concepts of photography in the last few episodes, and this one is no exception to that. I'd like to talk about transparency in photography because we deal with opaque things, we deal with transparent things, and let's go through a few different things. Water, for example, is obviously transparent, but the deeper and the darker the underneath is, I mean, if you look at a deep lake, for example, then the water surface will be darker, of course, because there's much more contrast. There's not much more light coming up. When you look at shallow water, then you will see what's under the water, but that also depends on your angle towards the water. If you look at water from a very shallow angle, if you go really low above the water, then it will reflect more, and you won't see the transparency as well. And by the way, that transparency is also linked with reflection in other places. Like if you look at, let's say, just the surface of a table, for example, if you go at a really shallow angle, that thing will be more reflective than if you look at it from above. So, but that's just a little side note here. Back to transparency. Ice. Let's stay with water in its frozen form. Ice, for example, has the same kind of properties, especially looking at, for example, a frozen lake. The picture you're showing is from Lake Baikal. It's not mine, but I know these features really well. So ice is transparent. If you look down onto ice, then again, the more depth there is, the blacker it will look, because no reflections come up from the bottom. Going back to water, if you use a polarizer, a polarizing filter, a so-called polarizing filter, that can be used to show transparency, to take reflections out, because reflections are, in a water situation, are kind of the enemy of transparency. If you want to see what's in the water, let's say you want to show the beautiful rocks in there, or there's fish in there and you want to see them, then a polarizer can take those reflections out.
That's really interesting. Sorry? I did not know that. I always think of polarizers for sun and stuff like that, but that's interesting. The polarizer intensifies colors by taking reflections out. For example, you take a picture of a tree, and you will see lots of reflections from the sky on the leaves. But when you take those out with a polarizer, then the leaves show through. The green shows through much stronger. So that works well on non-metallic reflections, like on water, on ice, on glass. Metal, no, polarizers don't work there. How interesting. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
But we can do an entire thing about polarizers. It's a really fascinating kind of filter.
You buy that as a screw-on filter for a fancy camera. I don't think there are polarizers for smartphones.
Oh, they are.
Are there?
Oh, they are.
Really?
Oh, they are. Yes. It's all available. If you look at glass, obviously that's probably the most apparent transparency that we see around us. But of course, glass does two things. It reflects and it is transparent. So depending on how you approach that, and depending on how bright it is behind the glass, you might see a reflection combined with what's behind it. So you end up with fairly interesting compositions, because you add an additional layer into your composition just by looking through glass. Or if it's dark behind the glass, then you'll probably not see much.
This is a surprising photo, because we're taking it from the outside. So, but it looks like we're looking through a window at the outside. And then eventually, if you look at it for long enough, you realize, oh, wait a minute, that's a reflection of a tree, not a tree through a window.
And the glass on that picture is not very transparent. That is, I think it has some reflective surface.
So it's like a mirror. Yeah.
Some mirroring on it.
Yeah.
So glass is really interesting in that respect. And of course, again, transparency, a transparent glass, you can color glass, you can stain glass. So you would have like a church window or something, for example. If you look at colored glass on our cameras as in a filter, like there's warming filters and cooling filters and color filters. Let's say you have a red filter, so everything looks red. What's interesting to know there is that the filter doesn't add color. It takes color away. So if you're looking at let's say if you're looking at a warming filter, it doesn't add red to the picture. It removes blue. It removes the cooler tones. And that's why you see red coming through. Glass will also pick up colors. Like if you put a colored liquid in a drinking glass, the glass will look that color. So that's an interesting property there. And one more thing that's really interesting about transparency is when you look at smoke or steam, because that's kind of the glossy, transparent thing. There's a really neat trick with light to take these pictures. If you have a light source coming from the side and you use a couple of pieces of cardboard to shield the background from the light, then you get this kind of a freestanding smoke in the room. And some photographers go and invert this. They use the negative function. They make what's bright, they make dark, and what's dark, they make bright in the photo. And this way you get like really interesting looking smoke, transparent smoke. And then last but not least, just the very last thing is motion. If you have long exposures and stuff moves in the picture, then it turns transparent, right? You only have half of the time of the photo. You might have something in front of the lens, and then it moves away. So you only get like half of that and some of the background, and it turns transparent. So there's lots of different ways to deal with transparency.
With time lapses in busy tourist locations, for instance. Mm-hmm. The idea my idea was, well, if I do a long 30-second time lapse, the people will disappear and only the things that don't move will stay. But you're right. People turn into ghosts.
A few people stay. They move a little bit. Yeah. So you have
it's actually a really cool effect.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People are not pigeons. So you can't just scare them away by clapping your hands, unfortunately. Really cool. Now, Chris has put together a gallery of demonstrations that he was talking about, and you'll find that on our website, techguylabs.com. It's all Flickr photos. That's the beauty of Flickr.
Oh,
people share their pictures, and you can use them as examples and so forth. In fact, that's where we have our little photo assignment. What's our assignment this month?
It's the reflection assignment, and it'll still be up for about 2-3 weeks.
So we're giving you a chance to play with reflections. Take a picture. Doesn't have to be with a fancy camera. Any camera. Illustrating the concept reflection, and then upload it to Flickr. It's free to join if you're not already a member. We have a group on Flickr, and that's where you want to submit it to the Tech Guy group on Flickr. Our moderator, Renee Silverman, will welcome you. Do tag it with the word TG Reflection. All one word, TG Reflection. So we'll know it's for the Tech Guy group and that reflection is the assignment. Then in a couple of weeks, Chris will pick some and talk about them. It's really just a chance for you to get out there and take pictures. Chris Marquardt is teaching all of us how to take better pictures, not just here, but on his website, sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Leo.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We had a teacher yesterday asking about, she was having trouble with Zoom, and I said, you should try Big Blue Button because it's for teaching. She was complaining because Zoom doesn't have hot links in the chat. They're just links. You can't click them. And I said, Chris uses Big Blue Button. You still happy with that?
Oh, yeah, totally. And you can put links in there. There's a shared chat function. So it's not just a chat. It's like a shared document, like a Google Docs, for example. And people can write in there and collect information, and then you can export this to HTML.
It's specifically for this purpose.
It's a classroom system.
Yeah.
It's a classroom system.
Yeah, and I think you'd be happy.
Much better than Zoom in that respect. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
And depending on the server you run it on, I mean, you can install this on your own server if you want to. If you have someone who can do command line on Linux, we're talking 10 to 20 people. You know, it's open source, so it's very good.
Big Blue Button. I didn't realize you could. Yeah, because it's open source, so you could run your own server.
Open source. I'm running it on my own system, so.
Yeah, I've been running Jitsi myself for and I like Jitsi, but I should try Big Blue Button.
I gave up on Jitsi because Big Blue Button is better.
So is it a Docker installation or what is the...
No. Well, I think it's probably available as Docker, but there's also an install script that pretty much does the whole thing. I think you need Ubuntu 10 point... Oh, my God. Not the current version, the one before.
Yeah. The LTS probably, yeah.
And the script is optimized for that, and it ran through without a hitch. It installed all the dependencies and everything, and boom, it runs. So.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that was the nice thing about Jitsi. It's very easy to install.
But this is the same with Big Blue Button, and then it cleans up after itself. There's a recording function in there even, so you can record sessions.
Nice.
And And then you upload your presentations and stuff, but you can disable that part. So if you only want people in there, you can do that. So it's Zoom-like or Jitsi-like in that respect. But then you also have this area in there where you can show slides and share your screen on, so people can see each other and this can see your screen and your slides. And you can make others presenters. So if you have someone else who wants to share their screen, you can just hand them over the presenter, and then they get to do this. This is how I do the classes. When we do image reviews of someone, they will share their screen. They will share their images to me over Big Blue Button. It works well.
Nice. I'm going to set it up. This looks really straightforward. This is good.
Yep. Good. Pretty simple.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
See you in a week.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Trish in Ventura, California, our next caller. Hi, Trish. Thanks for hanging on.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thanks. I have a Panasonic TV. It's a flat screen, and it was given to me, but it was in great condition. The picture went out about a week ago, and I looked online to troubleshoot it, and I guess it's a thing with Panasonic TVs because I kept seeing different websites that mentioned if the LED light was blinking and how many times was it blinking, but I can't find.
Okay, I got to warn you. The web is a big place, and there are a lot of people in the world. And you know how when you buy a car, all of a sudden you see a lot of other people driving that car? You know that? It's just the way our mind works. It's the same thing with the web. If you were to search for any television and screen doesn't work, you'd find many, many entries because the web is a big place and there are a lot of people in the world. I don't think Panasonic has more of a problem than any other. Furthermore, I don't think that necessarily the problem you're having is the same as other people who are having problems with Panasonic. So blinking LED may be applicable to your situation, may not be. So I wouldn't go too crazy with it. Is it a Viera? Do you remember what kind of Panasonic?
It is a Viera.
It's a Viera. So those, by the way, somebody was very nice to you because those are very nice TVs. They're plasma TVs. They don't make them anymore. Nobody makes plasma TVs anymore, but they're gorgeous. You probably noticed what a nice screen it had and all of that.
Yeah. And it says it's real 3D and
Well, nobody. I wouldn't worry about 3D anymore. But so, I mean, the problem with these new TVs, these flat panel TVs, is they're so compact. They're not very repairable. You remember the old days when you had the tube TV, and you could bring it down. There'd be a guy downtown. He'd have a fly-specked window with a lot of old TVs collecting dust in there, and you'd bring it in, and you go, oh, yeah, you got to replace your T-34 tube. Then he'd put it in, and it would all work. In fact, they used to have tube testers down at the drugstore where you'd bring your tubes, you'd put them in the tube tester.
I remember that.
Remember that? Yeah.
I'm a little old.
So am I. So times have changed. User serviceable parts in most of the things we buy, including our cars, incidentally, have started to disappear. And this is really true of these flat panel screens. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, some minor, some major. And it's pretty hard for you as the user to figure out what's wrong. It could be the power supply died. It could be the screen itself died. These are older TVs now. They're probably at least 10 years old. I don't know, but so they're just a lot of issues. But there is, believe it or not, it is a computer. So there are some things you might be able to try that might just work. It might just be a software issue. Somebody in our chat room, who's usually pretty good. In fact, we've got a link in the show notes to this iFixit thing. This might be what you saw with the LEDs blinking. Do you see, just out of curiosity, do you see blinking LEDs?
Well, I see the blinking. Well, I don't know if it's the LED, but
Well, if you see a light blinking, that's it. That's.
I do.
You don't worry about the LED term. That's just the kind of It's like
all the websites mentioned like different. How many times is it blinking? Because I guess the amount of times it's blinking, is an indication of what's wrong with it.
Yeah. So it could be a fuse. In other words, I'm also seeing somebody said, I took a hairdryer to every vent on the back, and it worked. I'm not sure I would recommend that. If it turns on briefly, then switches itself off, then blinks the light, then it can be that it's overheating. So there's fans in the back, and if they get dusty, they're not blowing cool air through it anymore. And so that could be a problem. But it also could be the power supply is bad. It could be a blown fuse. In other words, could be. Right. There's somebody in our chat room who has a voodoo fix. He says, remove the back. No, that's not it. Don't do that. I don't want you removing any back covers. Here's one. Switch off the TV for 1 minute. Then on the side of the set, holding the down program arrow button in, and then pushing and holding the on-off switch until the remote light blinks green. Keep holding it about 30 seconds. That's a reset because it is a computer in there. Some of these might work. One of them might work. Many of them won't. And I can't tell because I can't see what's wrong with it. The problem is the guy downtown with the fly-specked window and the old TV tubes, he's gone. And even if he were there, he would go, lady, I don't know what to do with that. That's a...
Right. And, it is up on my wall, and I'm here by myself, so I really...
There's not much you... Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to take it off the wall and lug it into the shop, for sure.
Right.
It might be worth a call to Panasonic. They may have a local repair person who could come out, wear a mask, stay away from you, and fix it. It's conceivable. Apparently, the consensus is that Panasonic does try to tell you what's wrong with the blinky lights. And that is a diagnostic, just as it is on many computers. So I guess unplug it so you make sure it's really powered down.
Right.
Wait 15 seconds, then plug it in and count the blinky lights.
Did that.
How many times?
14.
14 flat. Oh no. I don't know what that means. Now I'm going to Google Panasonic Viera and 14 blinks. And let's see what that code. There is, in fact, a 14 blink code. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
This is what iFixit, which, by the way, I think iFixit is pretty good. 14 blinks. This code is triggered if there are abnormalities during data exchange with the standby CPU ROM. Oh, well, that's easy. No.
That's why I'm on the phone with you.
So you read this then. Shorted F15 developed after the TV is up and running, holding the power switch for over 5 seconds after the unit has gone into shutdown and it's in lock mode. So I am gonna put a link to this article. This is from iFixit.com. You could find it as I did by typing Panasonic Viera 14 blinks.
Okay.
But honestly, this is not something easily fixed by yourself. Do you have a multimeter to hand? Do you even know what a multimeter is?
No, I don't.
I don't have a multimeter either. I'm not lording it over you here, but it's a thing you could check voltages with. And so what you would then do, and this is what, if there were a shade tree mechanic for TVs, he'd come over with his multimeter and he'd put the leads on different connectors and say, I could see the resistance at the VSUS line is dead there. You got a dead short. So I think what we're going to do is, this is complicated. Apparently the 14 blinks do mean something. If you Google this, you will find on iFixit.com, which is really a great site. They have been a sponsor of our shows in the past. I think they might still be. They are there to help people fix their own stuff. But honestly, you'd have to be an electronics technician to follow this recommendation, plus have a lot of gear.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what the answer is. You could try. There are a few things you can try, like holding and switching and holding down those buttons and stuff like that. That might be sufficient. It does sound like you got a bad board. There's some bad circuitry in there, which is not going to be easily fixed except by a Panasonic authorized repair person. So that might be your next thing. Depending, you got it for free, depending on how much you want to put into this. Yeah, ultimately, in a case like this, since the repair people are so few and far between, honestly, this is probably time to get a new TV. I hate to say it.
No, that's okay. I kind of figured that, but I thought I'm going to call the experts.
Well, and it is a great TV. I mean, we have a Viera, which we cherish because nobody makes plasma anymore, and plasma's really had great pictures, better than LCD.
Oh, so nice.
I know.
And, I mean, yeah.
What could we do? I mean,
freckles on Jason Bateman's face.
And who doesn't want to see that, right, Trish?
Exactly.
So, I bet you, because you're in the Southland, if you called Panasonic, there probably is somebody in LA who would drive up who could fix it. Now, it might cost so much it would be cheaper to buy a new TV. How big is that?
Right. I'm sorry?
How big is it? Is it 50 inches? Is it 60?
It's a 50 inch.
50. Yeah, that was the classic. Honestly, you could get a new 50-inch TV for around $500 maybe. So that would look pretty much as good. So that's the problem, is the guy drives up, he charges you $150 an hour, you need some parts, you hit 500 pretty quick.
Right.
So it just depends how sentimental you are about that.
No, I'm not. I missed my TV. I'm ready to this has been going on for a while. I had to house sit, so I was out of the house for a while. So one of the websites said leave it off for, several days, which I did that too. So nothing's worked. But I will look at the website you recommended and try.
They have some interesting, fixes you might be able to try. But a Samsung 50-inch is $399. An LG 50-inch is $319. TCL, which actually makes great TVs, it's an LCD. It's not going to be quite as good, but Best Buy has it for $269. So that's guaranteed less than getting somebody in to fix it.
Well, so an LG at $319. LGs are, I think that's what I have in my other room.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah, these are LCDs. I like LG a lot. Yeah, it's $300. So there's no way a repairman's going to come up and fix your TV for less than that.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, those are 4K too, which yours is not. So, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, we tried.
I'm ready.
All right, Trish.
I'm ready to do this.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. Failing Panasonic Viera TVs. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach us. You just have to do some finagling using Skype out or something like that. 8888 Ask Leo. Website techguylabs.com. The chat room has decided that when your Panasonic Viera blinks 14 times, that's a comms issue between the main board and the power supply. Okay, fine. What am I supposed to do with that? Okay, fine. We live in a world now where there are no user serviceable parts inside of anything. And that's one of the kind of issues. I mentioned iFixit, which I really like this site and its philosophy. The idea is you should be able to fix something you own. You should be able to fix it. So they have videos, repair manuals, parts to kind of enable people to do what we want to do, which is fix our own stuff. Nevertheless, it's harder and harder. In fact, one of the things iFixit does when they get new stuff is they tear it down. So, for instance, they just got this new Microsoft phone. This is the latest thing they just tore down. And they said, well, you could tell just by looking at the darn thing. It's so thin. It's, it's got two screens that clearly this is mostly glued together. They said even replacing the batteries in this thing involves basically disassembling the entire thing, which is an iffy prospect because not only is it glued together, but there are wires all over the place. And if you don't do it exactly right, you're going to cut one of those wires and you're going to render the thing unusable. In other words, no user serviceable parts inside. And that's true of everything nowadays. We had a dishwasher, got rid of it, from GE, a monogram dishwasher, that had 9 circuit boards. It was a computer with some hoses on it. That was it. And it never worked right. We finally got a bunch of technicians, one after the other. Finally, one guy came out and he had a multimeter. He tested. He said, all these circuit boards are broken. They're all messed up. It must have been dropped when you bought it, and it's never worked right since. I said, that's right. So they literally, this is how you fix it. You can't fix a circuit board. You get new ones. You swap it out. Fortunately, it was under warranty because I'm sure it would have cost more than the washing machine itself to replace 9 circuit boards. But 9 were replaced, and the thing worked for a while, sort of. We finally got rid of it. Got a Whirlpool like any sensible person. Works great. No circuit boards at all. But more and more, the things that we have digital circuitry, components that are assembled by robots. Instead of soldering things on their surface mounting things, they can't be desoldered or replaced. They just can't be replaced at all. It's just they're just not serviceable. And part of this is it's cheaper to make it. You can make it more compact. Maybe it's more reliable. Soldering, has always had some problems if it's not done right. So maybe it's more reliable. It also has the advantage that if something goes wrong, you have to buy a new one from the company. And I have to think there's a little part of the company that doesn't want you to fix stuff. But that's not good for the environment. Throwing all this stuff away, perfectly good stuff that's just not repairable. What if instead of tuning up your car, changing its oil, you had to get a new one? That would be nuts. And increasingly, it's that way. The shade tree mechanics, they can only work on older vehicles. Modern vehicles, no, you have to bring it to the dealer because they have all that gear. And if you are a farmer, you probably know this very well. The John Deere harvesters, the big combine harvesters, these things are as big as a living room. They're huge, bigger. They have a living room in them. John Deere is very careful to make sure that you do not repair these yourself. They build in circuitry that if somebody, not an official John Deere repair person, touches it, it doesn't work. It has to be approved. And this comes down to something called the right to repair movement. And there are laws being proposed in many states. There are even some states that have passed these laws, a handful, that say you should have the right to repair your own stuff in any way you choose because you bought it. John Deere, one of the big offenders. Apple, another one. Although Apple's eased up a little bit. I have to commend Apple because they were getting a lot of heat. They were fighting. They would go state by state to fight these laws. They did not want you to fix your iPhone. But they have now started offering parts and even repair manuals to third-party repairs. They say after the warranty runs out, go ahead. You can go to the Shade Tree iPhone mechanic and get your iPhone fixed. Hallelujah. I mean, it's not enough just to say you can repair. You got to offer the parts. You got to offer the manuals. You can't hold on tight to how to do it. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's go back to the phones. People have been very patient, like Kim in Redondo Beach. Hi, Kim.
Hey, good afternoon, Leo.
Afternoon.
My question is related to a 5 terabyte external drive. I've got 4 of them.
Wow, that's a lot of storage, buddy.
Yeah, Seagate. Well, I do a lot of photography and video.
Perfect. Yeah, you need it.
I use iDrive. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
Thank you. No, I'm just saying you're really generating a lot of content. You need these drives.
Yeah, and one of the drives, it lights up but does not get recognized by the system with a drive letter.
Are these external drives?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing to look at when that happens is it the drive or is it the enclosure? USB enclosures, in fact, it sounds like it's the enclosure. USB enclosures hide the drive, in effect, with a USB interface. So before you give up on that drive, I'd swap it into a different enclosure.
Okay.
And you can even buy, and what I recommend, somebody like you, anybody who works with drives a lot, a company called NewerTech sells a really useful tool. It's about $40. It will take any bare bones drive of any kind and turn it into a USB drive. It's not something you'd want to use, on a regular basis, but for diagnostics, it's very, very useful. They call it their USB Universal Drive Adapter, and it has connections for 2.5-inch, 3.5-inch, 5.25-inch drives, USB 2 or USB 3. The drive's just sitting out there. That's why you don't want to use it forever, but it's just sitting out there with its guts hanging out. But you plug it into this, and now you can see if it's working.
Okay, but how do I get to the enclosure? They're pretty tight.
Well, there's screws on it. Sometimes they hide the screws under the feet.
Okay.
So you might pry off if you can't see any screw on the back or the front or the side, like there's no screws. There are screws somewhere, believe me.
Yeah.
Then peel off the rubber feet, and they'll be under there.
If there's rubber feet.
If there's rubber. There'll be some way to get to the screws. There has to be. How did they get the drive in there? Maybe they glued it in. I don't know.
Okay, throwing it up against the wall doesn't work.
No, don't. And don't take a hacksaw to it either. I wouldn't.
Sorry, Mom.
Good news is drives are cheap now. A 5 terabyte drive isn't very cheap, but it's only a few $100.
They are, but it's just now I want to know, what did I lose on there?
Yeah. Well, almost certainly it's not the drive. It's the USB interface to the drive.
Okay, thanks. I do the 3-factor thing that you mentioned. And I have one more in the Synology drive.
Yeah.
I forgot the password to get in. How do one go and...
Do you need the stuff on it?
No, I don't think so.
You can reset it. If you don't need the stuff on it, then it's just, you can make it a new drive and it just start over.
Okay.
If you needed the stuff, then you'd be maybe in a little bit more of a pickle. You want those things to be secure. You don't want some guy from China just to be able to figure out your password. So,
okay.
My Synology drive, when I turn on a public interface like SSH on that thing, immediately, people try to get in from China.
Okay. Well,
immediately.
Stay outside this Chinese guy.
Well, you can say to your firewall, don't let anybody get in through any address but this one. Synology actually has some very good security. If somebody tries 3 times to log in with the wrong password, you block that IP address. There's all sorts of ways to do that.
Okay.
But just be aware,
I appreciate your knowledge and always being there. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for listening.
Cheers.
I couldn't do it without you. Well, I could, but if nobody listened, the radio station wouldn't be too happy. I say, Leo, we go ahead and do that show. It's just we're not going to put it on our transmitter. You can go ahead. Go have fun. So he was talking about his backup. Now, everybody who is a photographer or has important data really solves this problem at one point or another. Because, well, frankly, anybody who's lost data goes, it's not going to happen again. Especially, what if you took you did wedding photography and you lost the pictures? Can you imagine the bridezilla the next day when you said, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you do the wedding again? Because I know the pictures got erased. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Rick in Glendale next. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Leo. It's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
I've got a problem that I'm hoping you can solve for me. It involves basic video editing, and when I tell you what I'm using, you're going to quickly know I'm not a video editor. I'm using Movie Maker on Windows 10.
Oh yeah. They don't even offer that anymore, do they?
No. And I'm using it because it works for everything I need except one thing.
What's that?
I'll give you a little bit of quick background. I'm a local pastor here in Southern California.
Okay.
And in LA County, all our churches are shut down for in-person, meetings.
Right.
So we're live streaming everything, which works great because I'm professional live streaming. Okay.
Yeah.
That works great.
I bet after quarantine, come the future days, we might keep doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people in your congregation that can't make it to church. Maybe they're shut-ins or not feeling well. It's great.
No, absolutely. But to supplement that, I thought it'd be cool to send out daily devotionals. You might call them inspirational thoughts.
Nice idea. Yep.
Yeah. So we do that via YouTube. But here's the problem. I use a variety of people creating these devotionals, and then I try to edit them on Movie Maker. And some of the people at the end tell me, hey, it was hard to hear the volume in video.
Yeah.
Now the good news is I found a free online site that'll let me adjust volume, either increase or decrease 0 to 50 decibels, which is nice, but I'm flying blind because I don't know what I'm aiming for on the optimal volume. I don't know what I want it to be. So it's just, does it sound right to me? Now, I know the best answer, I'm sure, is change my editing software.
No. I wouldn't be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. Well, if you really wanted to do it right, you'd go out and get Adobe Premiere, and it has built-in. But no, I'm not going to be that guy. So there's a couple of ways of boosting audio. And this is going to depend on what tool you're using. If the tool has something called Normalize, what that does is it just it's like you have a knob, and you're turning up the volume until the very loudest thing in that whole passage is at what we call 0 dB, which is peak, where it should be. So that's just turning the knob up a little bit without getting it so loud that it clips. You understand, if it's too loud, it's going to get fuzzy. You don't want that. It's called clipping. So you want to get as loud as you can without clipping. That's normalizing. So look and see if it has that capability. But there's also just, it sounds like at least the one thing it has is this arbitrary turn the knob as far as you want. That's risky because you might get some loud sounds. Does that sound like this? You don't want that. So there's another way to do this that's actually preferable, and it's what the radio station's doing right now. It's what most TV does. It's what all pop music does, and it's called dynamic compression. And instead of just turning the knob to make it louder, it takes all of the music and it makes the quietest stuff louder and the loudest stuff quieter, so that there's a more narrow range. If you think of the range of sounds, there's some very quiet stuff. There's some very loud stuff. That's always going to be hard, because if you turn it so that the loud stuff sounds normal, the quiet stuff might be too quiet. That's why radio stations and pop music, they compress it so that it brings the loudest and the quietest. The difference between the two makes it smaller. That way everything can be heard well. If you do too much, it sounds like you probably remember Top 40 radio, KHJ, 96 KHJ, the Boss Radio. That was really compressed. It was punching. And they did that on purpose because it would jump out of the dial as you're tuning down the radio dial. You don't want that much. This is after all, this is a homily. This is not Big Rick D's. So but a little bit of compression can be done, and we do it when you're not hearing it on the phone, but when you listen to the radio to me, that's compressed, and it really does help in the key to what you want, which is intelligibility. It's not that you want it louder. People think they want it louder. And as you get older, I know this because I wear hearing aids. As you get older, you realize it's not that you want it louder. You want it clearer. It's hard to describe what it is. But really what you want it is you want it so that it's all within a certain range. So I don't know what...
You're describing it perfectly, Leo. My question is, how do I get that?
So I don't know what that tool is that you're using. But there are several settings you're going to look at. Normalize would be as I said, turn it up just as much as you can without clipping. That's less desirable than if you look for compression or dynamic compression in your settings. I don't know, is there a menu of different plugins you can apply or things like that?
I guess here's the issue. It sounds like because of what you're describing, it is really time to move past Movie Maker.
Possibly.
Mac guy, you tell me like Final Cut Pro, they don't make a version for PC. So do you recommend a next step up for Movie Maker for a Windows guy? I mean, not Movie Maker. Next step up from Movie Maker.
Something a little bit better.
Yeah.
Premiere Elements from Adobe. It's under $100.
Okay, so is that like a downscaled version of Premiere?
It is.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So it does everything. It's just like Adobe Photoshop Elements. It does everything the big boy does, except for a few rarely used things, and a much easier user interface. It's exactly what you want.
Oh, that sounds perfect. That sounds like what I need. So thank you, and all my people who are watching these videos are going to thank you.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure because I haven't used the audio portion of Premiere Elements, but given that Premiere is made by the same company that makes Adobe Audition, which has all of these tools. In fact, for years with my podcasts, I would run it through the compression in Adobe Audition. I would guess that Premiere Elements would have some of those tools. So look in the audio section. You won't have to do it separately from the video. You can do it in the video. There is compression, and there's also expansion is another thing that's a little harder to describe, but expansion eliminates background noise. So there are things to play with, and the key is, and you got it, you know what you're looking for, to make it more intelligible. Not louder, more intelligible.
Great. You've given me what I'm looking for, so I'll check out Premiere Elements.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, Rick.
Thanks so much.
I bet you people take a lot of solace in the sermons and the homilies. I think it's now more than ever, we need that, right? We need that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. Line 3, Roger, Newport Beach, California. Hello, Roger.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. What can I do for you today?
Caller.
Oh, well, it's great to have you. Welcome.
Well, thank you. So, yeah, I listen all the time.
Oh, nice. Keep listening.
I will.
Okay.
So I have a dilemma.
Yes.
I have a computer in my business that has some software on it that programs some machines. And they're both old programs, and one of the companies is out of business. And in the old days when I upgraded from 98 or 95 to the next one, I had to call in and they'd give me a code, a new key, and it worked. And now they're gone. I can't upgrade.
Are these machinist machines or lathes and things like that, or?
Yeah, they're proprietary punch programs.
Punch, okay. And they're computer controlled, but this is a universal problem, not just in your business, but in general. A lot of times these specialized programs, companies that make them are terrified they'll get stolen. So they put all this special protection on them. Used to be a big problem with music creation programs. They'd actually have to have a hardware dongle that you plugged into the back. But the problem is, when the company disappears, there's no way to keep that thing running. The server, they take down the servers, the check that it's supposed to do every time doesn't work anymore. That software is dead.
Right, and the other company, to upgrade the software, also upgrades the controls on the machine, and it's over $30,000.
Yeah. This is the problem. You don't own that software. It's just like the John Deere tractor, which you spent millions of dollars on, but you don't really own it. John Deere does. So
everything's working good, except it's on a Windows XP machine.
Yeah. So
I finally started to realize, I hate giving Microsoft money every 5 years for new operating systems and all that, but I've held out, and mainly because of these two programs. All my other computers are updated.
Yeah.
But I need to figure out a way to save the Windows XP operating system so I don't lose all these programs and keys and all this, but put Windows 10 on so I can run Windows 10 on everything else, and when I have to do some programming, I can switch to XP.
All right. So I can't guarantee it'll work because it depends on the hardware interface and so forth. But so there's a couple of things you could do. It may well work that you could use a virtual machine. A lot of people do this when they want to run older versions of software or older versions of Windows. They'll use something like VMware. That's kind of the king of the hill on this. And it lets you run the modern version of Windows, Windows 10, but in an emulation, in a virtual machine, run your XP with your tools. The beauty of this is it preserves that installation as a single file. You can make copies of it. You can copy it off to a server or to the cloud, to iDrive or whatever. So it's always safe. So it'll never get destroyed. The only limitation would be, I'm sure you have a hardware interface, right? If it's a serial port or USB port, no big deal. If it's a complicated proprietary interface, that may not work in a virtual machine. The way virtual machines work with the outside world is they emulate kind of a basic PC. And they have all the features, and then they translate it to the host machine so that it kind of still works. How do you connect your hardware, your punch machines, to the computer that's running it?
Well, on the punch machine, we write it to a 3 1/4 floppy disk. Exactly.
Oh, so I see. So you don't care. You're not connecting the Windows XP machine to it. You're just writing the program and then putting it in the floppy and then bringing it over.
Both machines have floppy disk readers.
I see. So you need to support a floppy drive, but that's all right. VMware will support floppy drives. So I think that'll work for you. The other way to do it would be to have a dual boot installation where you have a Windows XP install and a Windows 10 install, and you boot into the one that you want to use for that time. And what I would do in that case is make an image backup of the XP machine. So if anything goes wrong, you can restore it. And there are lots of tools that will do that. Norton Ghost was so popular for so long that we sometimes even call this ghosting the machine, making an image. Norton doesn't make Ghost anymore, but there are lots of choices. Macrium makes a good one. Ease US makes them. It's called a drive imager. So there are lots of ways to do drive imagers. So you'd make an image of that XP machine with all the software installed, everything working just right, and you'd store that image somewhere safe, just as you would store the virtual machine somewhere safe, and then if you ever needed it again, you could bring it back, so you'd never be at risk of losing that. You don't want to run XP on the internet these days, because Microsoft's not patching it anymore, so it's insecure. But doesn't mean you can't just run XP. The best choice would be in a virtual machine, because a virtual machine will work even if you get new hardware, faster hardware that's theoretically incompatible with XP. Doesn't matter. The VMware will run it anyway. So that's going to give you the longest life. If it'll work in a virtual machine, that's a good solution.
The machine I've always built my own Frankenstein computers. And, it's got like a quad-core chip and...
Yeah, good. But someday you'll get a new one. And the thing is, as long as it continues to run VMware, which it will, because VMware is a big, important enterprise, then you're golden, because you can run your VMware image, which will contain the punch cut machine software and the XP. You'll be able to run it right to the floppy. So you write instructions to a floppy disk and then carry it over to the machine? Is that how it works?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. There was a way to network it, but it was such a hassle. We just on.
No, that's fine. I mean, how often do you do it? It's not like you're doing it every 5 minutes.
No.
Yeah. You're doing it for a whole run. So I think that's a great idea.
So you think that's better than doing like a dual boot computer?
It is, as long as it works. But it will. If all you have to do is write to a floppy disk, that's not a problem. And the reason it is you don't have to. It's much simpler. It's just a lot easier. The trick is going to be getting it working the first time. You'll need XP install disks and all of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Do you have all that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So now's the time to do that, because once you create that virtual machine file, that's good. It's golden and work forever. You don't need to install Windows XP again. You don't need to install the special software again or anything. You just need you'll install VMware. You build a new machine. You install VMware on it. You take your image, you put it in there, and you run it. You launch it in VMware, and there's your XP. There's your cutting software. You will need a floppy disk to work.
Sure.
I imagine that USB floppies will be around for some time, almost precisely because of people like you.
Yeah, it's hard to find the disc, but they still have the USB drive. That little.
I don't think anybody makes those anymore, but you can still buy old ones.
Yeah, Amazon or something.
That might be another thing to do, is stock up on old floppies, because it might get harder to find those.
Well, we reuse them. We reformat them.
Well, yeah, but they wear out. So it's interesting. He said this is a problem with this kind of proprietary software. If the company goes out of business, you're stuck.
Exactly.
Maybe you could hire somebody who's, a skilled developer who could hack the software, take out the protection code, make it run with Windows 10. But, it's much easier. VMware, that's what this is made for, frankly, is exactly the situation.
Okay. And I can change it into a VMware?
VMware is the software, VMware.com. Okay. And then what you'll do is you'll create a new image Actually, you can take your existing install and make an image out of that. That might be safer because that's already, everything's unlocked and everything. So make an image of your existing install with VMware, and then you can move it to any machine. It becomes an image file, single file. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It sounds complicated, but conceptually what you're doing is you're running a modern computer with Windows 10 on it or whatever you want. And in fact, you could do this on a Mac. And then you're running the VMware program on that. Okay? Yep. And then the VMware program loads in an image file, which is a single file that is in effect an entire XP machine, including all the specialized software, whatever you've done to that machine, it loads it in, and it runs that in a window. I can run it full screen, but it's basically running underneath Windows 10. So Windows 10 is still running, VMware is running, and VMware is showing you your Windows XP machine. And it all works. And VMware does the translation, so when the XP machine writes to a floppy, it's actually writing to VMware, which VMware says, oh, you want a floppy? Okay, I got one over here, and it does the writing.
Okay, I'll look into that. That sounds like a good solution.
That's how everybody does it nowadays. That's really the only way to do it. Dual boot would work, but it's more complicated.
I'll check it out, and thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome. It's great to talk to you. Thanks for listening.
Take care, Leo.
Take care. Thank you for letting me do this show again. Appreciate it. I really do. Thanks to Lady Laura, Professor Laura, our musical director. She and her baton. Thanks to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. She answers the phones, gets you ready for your appearance on live national radio. And most of all, thanks to you for listening, because honestly, it'd be so embarrassing if I were just talking to myself the whole time. 8888 Ask Leo. A reminder, we're wrapping up the show, so if you heard something on the show or you want to make a comment or you want a link or whatever, it's all available online at our website, techguylabs.com. That's free. There's no sign up. It's just like the web used to be. You just wander on in. There's a good search there. You can look back at previous shows, all 1,728 of them. Audio and video from most of them, including this show, will be up there. So you can, if you miss a show, you can listen there. And you can hear your question or somebody else's question. You can also leave a comment. If you have a better idea or a suggestion, that's a great place to do it. techguylabs.com. Line 1 in Atlanta, Georgia. David is on the line. Hi, David.
Hello, Leo. Great to talk to you, bud. I've been listening to you for more years than I like to remember.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it.
You've always given us great advice.
Thank you. I do my best. Not perfect.
Neither.
Who is? That's right.
Ran into a frustrating thing. Had a Galaxy 8 for a number of years, and the thing just ran beautifully. And then all of a sudden, the GPS started lagging, and I was having trouble connecting to my home alarm system and stuff like that. So I ran into the T-Mobile store, and they quickly said, "Oh yeah, well sometimes the GPS chips go bad, and but I can sell you this brand new shiny Galaxy 20 Plus."
That's the easy fix, isn't it? Just spend another $1,000, everything will be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They planted the hook, and I did it, and all of a sudden, the beautiful Galaxy 20 Plus is now doing exactly the same.
Oh no, really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Are you using it in a vehicle? Is that where the problem happens?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so...
And I use it, I run my business getting to and from places to place.
Yeah, you need it.
GPS is real important.
So GPS is a line-of-sight technology. You probably know this, but if you go in a parking garage, for instance, you're not going to get location anymore. I know how most people know it is if you go in a tunnel, suddenly the map is confused about where you are because it can't see the satellites. So it's line of sight to those satellites. You need to see at least 3 to triangulate where you are. Most of the time it's going to see 4 or 5. It is going to work better in your windshield than in your pocket or underneath the seat or somewhere. So that's the first thing to do is make sure that phone has good access to the sky.
Yeah, and it does.
Okay.
It'll say when I'm pulling out of the office for the first 2 or 3 minutes looking for GPS. Never had that happen in my life.
It's normal the first time you're in an area to do that. So the way GPS works, to speed it up, is it builds something in data called an almanac. And because what it does is it looks and says, well, what satellites can I see? It's trying to figure out, for future reference, what to look for. And so that almanac does take some time. So the first time, if you're in a new location or you're using a brand new phone, you use the GPS, there will be this lag as it builds the almanac. From then on, though, it should be just as snappy. You know, it should be able to pinpoint your location within, I would say, within a few seconds, certainly under a minute. You're saying how long does it take?
Well, it takes probably three minutes.
Oh, that's frustrating. And it's really hard with turn by turn if it's not up to date as you're coming to the turn. If it says turn here after you've passed it already, that's no good. Is it doing that also?
And that, yes, it's got a lag, so it'll be as much as 2 blocks behind.
Yeah.
Get to an intersection and stop at a red light, and all of a sudden you'll see the line on the GPS catch up to where you are.
Yeah. Everybody deals with that a little bit, but it sounds like you've got a particularly thorny problem. Could be your location, could be your vehicle. What I did, and this was actually a recommendation of our listener, I got an external GPS device that I could put in the window of the vehicle and leave there. And it pairs to your phone by a Bluetooth, and it's much faster than any phone GPS. The good news is it's not too expensive. The one I got is it's available on Amazon, Dual Electronics XGPS 150A. It's a Bluetooth GPS receiver that works faster and better than the one in any phone. So if for whatever reason, it could be, like I said, location, vehicle, whatever. I don't think it's the phone, because you have 2 now that are doing this. And I think I'd have never had a problem with my Samsungs doing GPS. So I think it's the location. So take a look at getting an external GPS. These are faster.
Okay, and it's called what again?
This is one, and I'll put the show notes. Of course, we'll put a link up there. But it's you can find it on Amazon. I seem to remember paying less. Right now, it's $88, so it's not super cheap. I remember less. Maybe they're during COVID, everything costs more for some reason. It's Dual Electronics is the company. Dual, D-U-A-L Electronics, and the one I bought, it looks like a little red hockey puck. It's the XGPS 150A, but they make other kinds as well.
All right.
And I'm sure there are other companies that make this as well, so you could shop around. But this one worked well, and then you just put it in the window, you pair it to your phone via Bluetooth, and it has its own app, and it does a much better job than anything I've used in a phone. So I particularly did this because of the lag in turns, which frustrates me. Drive by the turn and then it says, turn here. I just passed it.
I know it. I was just there. I don't want it.
I don't want it. So you could try that. You could try that. There are other companies that make these. You want an external GPS receiver is what you want.
Well, I've carried Garmin's around forever.
Yeah, remember? And those worked better. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fabulous.
Yeah.
And the phone, both with Waze and Google, they just got to be so good and more up to date than.
Well, the maps are better. That's right. That's why you want it to still use your phone for the map, but you want to get the location from maybe a slightly better receiver. Here's one. It's $84 it's on Pilot Mall. Pilots use this too. Small plane pilots often use these because you need something that's more accurate.
Well, perfect. I will check that out. I sure appreciate your help.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling. Yeah, I don't think it's a Samsung. I think Sammys do pretty well with GPS, to be honest. I think they do as well as any phone anyway. No phone is probably, I would guess, as good as something like this external receiver. It solved the problem for a lot of people I know. So that does it for me this week. Tuesday, Apple has a big announcement. I'm hoping they're going to announce not only a new Apple Watch and a new iPad. That's pretty much a given. I'm hoping they're going to announce their first Macintosh computers based on Apple chips. I'm crossing my fingers. If they do, we'll certainly have a lot to talk about next week. I'll be here answering your questions, talking about the latest computer news. The TikTok deadline is Tuesday as well. Will anybody buy TikTok before then? I don't think so. We'll talk about that too. I hope you'll come by and join me. Meanwhile, please back up your data. Stay safe, stay well, and come back here. We'll see you next week. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.